All right, so I had received a lot of comments about on Instagram. I usually post which restaurants have denied me service and which ones have been accommodating due to this whole mask thing. So I figured I'd finally sit down and kind of talk about what my reasons are because several people have asked me. So basically, I just wanted to start off by reading a document that we all know and love, so that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, which among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that governments are instituted among men and derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. So I just figured that's pretty important to understand, because I think that the whole mask thing is going to end when the consent of the governed is withdrawn. I believe that's sort of what happened when the lockdowns ended, when people started becoming martyrs for opening their business in defiance of those making the laws. Pretty soon thereafter, the lockdown ended. I think the same thing will occur with masks when enough of the governed are tired of this imposition being placed upon them. So this week we traveled down, and we live out in the country, so we don't have a lot of interactions with people and businesses in the realm of masks. People just don't wear them up here. But we went through Austin, we went through Seguin, and into Corpus Christi, and those people are a little more adamant, and they are true believers, to say the least. So we went to several places where, I have a family of 6 children. So when 8 of us walk into a restaurant in Seguin and a lady begins berating me who works there and, waving a mask in my face and telling me to put it on, when I don't know where that came from. And I'm okay. So yeah, so that makes me not want to eat there. First of all, I'll say that. But I also gathered my family, and as consumers with choice, we left that establishment, and a family of 8, you drop $60 or $80 at a meal out. So there's no way I'm supporting a place that's going to berate a customer and treat a customer indignantly over something like a mask, instead of just accommodating us. Because usually, I'm the less aggressive person. My wife goes in, I have been I'm like, you do all the ordering, you go up to the counter, you explain why you're not wearing a mask. I'm gonna sneak over here to the table, I'm gonna sit down quietly and just act like they didn't see me come in, so that I don't have to explain why I'm not wearing a mask. That's what I used to do. And I realized that is so weak, because my wife, she's totally on board with. She has no problem telling anybody. In fact, in Austin, they threatened to call a Code 11. Who knows what that is? But she went in there. Like, nationally, they've stopped doing masks in Walmart, but Walmart would not let her in. I think they put their hands on her cart and were stopping her, and they said, we're going to call a Code 11. And I later told my wife, I was like, I would have stood there and said, call the Code 11. I want to see what that is, because I have no idea. And it just sounds so menacing and cool that I'd like to see that. But yeah, so, before this trip, I'm the guy that would, sneak into a restaurant where I'm giving them my money. As a consumer, I would sneak into a lousy restaurant with my children, hide behind my children, go sit at the table, be as quiet as I could, not let anybody see me, so that she could go up and order, and all that nonsense. That, after this trip, all that nonsense is gone. I'm not sneaking into a restaurant. If I'm giving you my money as a consumer, I'm not sneaking in, and I'm not being apologetic for walking in your business and willing to give you money. If you want my money, you take my money. So anyway, the more that we progressed on our trip, and the more that I got to experience the total insanity of people demanding complete and utter adherence to the mask mandate, it just, it got, at first it was scary. At first, I was like, oh my gosh, this person's yelling at me. I've never had somebody yell at me. Would they be yelling at me this loudly and this passionately if I were actually wearing the mask and robbing the place? Probably not. But at least they could see who I am. Uh, but as it went on, it became sort of like a like an experiment. Like I was like truly, I was like, okay, is this going to be the place that doesn't give me a hard time and just lets me walk in, or is this going to be one of those places where some 18-year-old wearing a mask, who obviously, has a medical degree and knows the law and all the medical stuff associated with COVID, where they're going to be lecturing me on a mask. Not that I have any of those things either, so I'll just throw that out there. But, it sort of became interesting to see, I was like, okay, is this going to be the place that kicks me out, or the place that yells at me, or are they just going to let me be free and live my life? And so, it actually, like, I've never streaked across a baseball field butt naked. I've seen people do that on the news. Actually, I would encourage you to go into a restaurant without a mask. It's kind of, I would imagine the feeling of exhilaration that those people have running butt naked, being chased by a referee, is kind of akin to walking, in Waco through a restaurant, which I did, just to go to the bathroom where there's nobody else in the lobby. Total 6 feet of separation. I'm not sneezing. I'm not coughing. I'm just going to the restroom with my child, and have somebody yell at me from the moment I touch the door till I go to the bathroom, and then I could still hear them yelling outside, like, and I'm like, we just ordered like 7 $4 milkshakes, and you're yelling at me like I'm robbing the place because I'm walking, 10 feet to the bathroom? That's a little strange, and that's a little unnatural for somebody to act like that. Because my only other choice would have been to pee on the side of that business, in which case they would have called the cops on me for public urination. So you have to make your choices. So I got to listen to somebody yell at me my entire walk to the bathroom, and while I was in the bathroom and as I came back out. But I promptly gathered the family, canceled our order, and went someplace else that wanted my business. So yeah, it's pretty much like streaking across a baseball field now, and it's kind of funny now. So let's see. So yeah, we talked about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So I wrote down a couple of notes. So I'm gonna cheat a little as I read, but yeah, I want to say, in terms of liberty, in our country, I hear people all the time, my body, my choice. Okay, but then if you say that about masks, they say, no, it's your body, but it's not your choice. Okay, so we can claim my body, my choice, and we can go out and kill somebody, a baby, who is in fact a human. You need to follow the science on the masks, but not the science on whether a baby's a human or not, which is, if we go back to those words, self-evident. So yeah, my body, my choice. If people can claim that and passionately stand up and go kill a baby, then I can certainly use that and stand up and order a hamburger. That's the least I can do. If it's my body, my choice, I'm going to order a hamburger while you go out and kill your baby, which is self-evidently a human. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why I don't wear a mask, because it's my body, my choice. You can't tell me to wear something that I don't agree with. I don't tell you to wear a jock strap. This looks like a jock strap across people's face to me. Sorry, it does. It looks like a big, giant jock strap. And my pastor is, he's saying, I can't tell if people are afraid of me. I probably shouldn't use my pastor here. He was just saying he couldn't tell if people were happy, sad, afraid, under duress, whatever. But I'll not name him in case he's not on board with me saying he can't tell what people look like. But yeah, so my body, my choice, and my choice is not to wear a mask. And yeah, the governed that derives its consent from us, they're there to help grant us life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I'm not there to do that for other people. I'm sorry. We're all individuals. and the government's just there to help us along the way. I know people are going to be like, well, they're trying to help everybody. I'm sorry. That making a mask mandate is not how you do that. And so, in terms of liberty, I am a consumer. I think I mentioned that before. So, as a consumer, that means I have choice. That means if you want to, I'm not going to use, mean terms, but if you want to be a jerk and you want to berate a customer, like the place in Seguin that, came over and started yelling at me and waving a mask in my face, yeah, you're not getting my business. That was one of the first instances, and I was willing to let the children eat, and I was just like, well, there went the tip. And the more I thought about it, I was like, no, there went the whole business. So as consumers, we can make choices. That's the glory of it all. You can make a choice. You can decide if you want to spend your money and patronize a place during this time where everybody's talking about our business is down. We need help. We're only at 50% capacity. We have every other table sitting with a thing that's, you can't sit here. And we need your help. Okay, if you need my help, don't yell at me when I come in. Don't treat me like I'm less than anybody else walking in the door because I don't have a mask on. So, as a consumer, I have the right to walk out and to, I don't make a big scene. I don't act like a jerk, but gathering 8 people up and voicing my displeasure, it does sort of make, you can't get 8 people in and out without making some sort of statement. So yes, I have that ability as a consumer. And here's a good one is, I've had this discussion a lot, and I actually read the mandate down there in Corpus Christi, is that, you can claim an exemption if you have a medical condition. Okay, so we used that. We said we have a medical condition. Okay, so an 18-year-old is like, what's your medical condition? I'm sorry, are you a doctor? What do you mean, what's my medical condition? What's your medical training? And then I'll tell you, after you sign some HIPAA forms, no, you don't have a right to ask me what my medical condition is. So all these places, they have people asking people what their medical condition is, in violation of HIPAA law, and they just do a one-size-fits-all. Everybody must wear a mask. Okay, well, what if you can't? I have a friend who, he has breathing trouble. He walked into a place, he told me the story, walking into a place with the oxygen tank and tubes in his nose, and they told him to put a mask on. Great, thank you. Talk to me about your medical training, how that's supposed to work out well for that guy. Not supposed to work out well for him. But one size fits all, and that's what we're about in America, right? Not individualism. It's one size fits all. Let's do what's best for the collective, even if the individual suffers. So, yeah. You're also allowed to, you don't have to wear a mask if you're eating or drinking. And this comes into play when you walk into a restaurant and they make you wear a mask for the 10 feet that it takes to go from the front door to your table. And then all of a sudden you can take your mask off. And magically, coronavirus isn't a concern anymore. So you can eat there. You can sit there and gawk like the guy in Waco. He took a little video of me as I walked out of the bathroom being yelled at. And he wasn't wearing a mask because he followed the rules and he wore his mask from the front door to the table. So then he could sit in judgment of the guy who didn't wear a mask to go to the bathroom. So, yeah. So anyway, as long as you're actively eating or drinking, you don't have to wear a mask. So you can walk into a store holding a drink and just sip on that for a while you're there. But they won't let you do that, just like the medical thing. The one in Corpus Christi also said, if you can maintain 6 feet of social distancing, you don't need a mask. It's interesting then that the places in Corpus Christi that I walked in where I was nowhere near somebody, when I hit the front door and the workers were like 30 feet away behind the counter, started yelling at me. Seems a little more than 6 feet, but one size fits all again. So yeah, no exemptions. This is, draconian, and there's, if you're a customer, use your money, walk away. Also, I'm not deaf. I've wanted to act like it, but if you're deaf and you have to read lips, read my lips, no new taxes. If you're deaf and you can't read lips, how fun must this thing be for you that you can't use, according to all these people who, no medical exemptions, if you read lips, you can't use that as an excuse. You still need to wear the mask and then just wander around. Who cares? Who cares? Because we're just following the rules. The greatest reason of all, though, and I know this is going long, the greatest reason that I did this on the trip and why it was so healing to me, getting yelled at and taking the family, even though it was a pain to get them back in that van, a 15-passenger van. The greatest reason, though, is that I wanted my children to look at me and to see me stand up for what I believe in. There's so little that people in America today can stand up and believe in and actually put their actions or their beliefs to action. So many people, I think, wear the mask because that's what they were told. And I want my children to know that if people put in place something that is nonsensical, that has been proven through studies, the exalted Dr. Fauci even said there's no reason for masks before he changed his opinion, but subsequent studies have come out, say there's no reason for it. It does nothing. It provides you with a false sense of security. If you look at the ones for sale that are made in China, in Walmart, which is kind of funny since they gave us the virus, they all say not for medical use, doesn't prevent anything. So, that's kind of interesting then that it would be mandated that you can wear a bandana which falls below your nose and which doesn't prevent it. I've seen people wearing like a shield, like they're going out to weld or something. It's just this plexiglass thing in front of their face, which obviously that's not filtering air, but that's acceptable because at least you're following the rule. So, yeah, I wanted my children to see me stand up. We talk about how the masks are ineffective, how we don't agree with them, how it's not right, how it should be a personal choice. And I want my children to see me standing up for that and saying that, no, I am an individual, I'm an American, I have freedom. I have freedom of agency, I have freedom of choice, I have freedom over my body, my choice. Remember that? And I can choose to shop where I want to shop. I want my children to see me. They've seen me believe in something so passionately that I got up from a restaurant and left. There are so few opportunities for my children to see me do that. I'm not saying, like I said, it's, gathering up the children. It is an ordeal in and of itself, but I don't make a big deal. I don't berate anybody. I don't call anybody anything. I just get up and leave and let them know why I'm leaving. And I want my children to know that in a free society, when you have liberty and agency over your own body, you get up, you leave if you're not getting, as a consumer, what you're paying for. I want them to know that certain things are right, certain things are not right. I don't want them to see their father sit down, just be obedient and pliant and do whatever a judge from some unknown county tells, decrees, when it doesn't make sense, when it's not one size fits all, when it infringes on my liberty. I want my children to not take their liberty for granted. I want them to cherish it and to fight for it and to get up and walk out of a restaurant if that's what it takes to maintain their liberty. And not just go along to get along. That's not living. That's not pursuit of happiness. That's not life. Walking around with a mask where nobody can tell if you're afraid, if you're happy, if you're sad, if you're being kidnapped, for children. Not that mine were, but for other children, how do you know if you don't know? You don't know what somebody's thinking. That's not life. That's not liberty. That's not the pursuit of happiness. I only have a couple more things. I know I'm running pretty long. But yeah, the government's there to set some pretty wide rules to enable us as individuals acting within the scope of our agency to have access to opportunity for life, liberty, and happiness. And it's a balancing act. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not a draconian thing. This pandemic is waning. I'm totally on board with, even before this, I think Americans are pretty smart. They're not going to go out. Some are, but I've not been coughing. I've not been sneezing. In fact, I think I had the virus last year, if truth be told, back in October or November of 2019. But yeah, I don't exist as a consumer, as an individual, as a citizen. My job is not to walk around concerned about everyone else and not about myself, not about my happiness and my freedom, because that's what this whole my body, my choice, right? It's about what's best for them. But in terms of mask, it's not about what's best for you, it's about what's best for the collective. So my job is not to care or not to live my life for the collective. It's to live my life for myself. And to do so responsibly, which I've done, like I said, before the pandemic, which most Americans did before the pandemic. If you're coughing, if you're sneezing, if you're sick, you don't go out. And if I did, I would go through the drive-thru or something like that. But to live my life in fear because somebody else who may be susceptible, I agree it's a real virus, but if they're susceptible, they're the ones that need to be staying home. They don't need to be going out and then demanding that I wear a mask as a perfectly healthy person to help them have a sense of ease. If you don't have a sense of ease, regardless of where you're at or what you're doing or who's around you, then don't be there. But for me to live my life so that you can be comfortable when I'm not comfortable, that's not life. That's not the pursuit of happiness. And so I'm just not willing to do it. And I think, like I said, when enough of the governed withdraw their consent for this, I think it's going to end just like the lockdown did. So I'm going to continue to go into places of business, not just to be a jerk, but if I want to eat something or I want to buy something, I'm going to go in without a mask. And if they yell at me and they kick me out, I'll just add that to my list of businesses that I won't be frequenting in the future. And I think if enough people do that, these businesses are going to get tired of yelling at potential customers, losing business, seeing a family of 8 walk out of their business while they're trying to survive, while they're trying to recover from the economics of having the government shut their business. Now the government's telling them to yell at and turn away business. Hopefully they get tired of it, and when enough people start showing up without a mask because they choose not to live their lives in fear, because they choose to exercise agency over their own body and make their own decisions as an independent, free-thinking American, then I think this will end. So if that's what it takes, if people can go out there and burn our cities down and loot stores in the name of whatever they believe in, you can go out there and you can go into a restaurant without a mask if that's what you believe in, and you can make that choice for yourself until you see change. This is much closer to, I think, quietly sitting down in a lunchroom to which you're being denied service. This is much closer to that, going into a restaurant and being yelled at for not wearing a face covering, than it is going and burning down a city and looting Gucci. So I'll just throw that out there. Thanks for letting me go a little long.